Bitcoin could reach $1 million 2025. Do you still stand behind that?
The market's wrong. Like, Bitcoin is massively undervalued right now at whatever it is. Reiterating what I'm saying, there is just so little Bitcoin out there. You can't double your holdings as a large entity at this point. It's going to shoot up. Once this incredible scarcity of Bitcoin really hits home and everyone starts to grok that, I believe the price is going to start to appreciate very rapidly.
Welcome to Wealth Wizards. In today's market analysis, Samson Mow shares his latest price predictions for Bitcoin. He explains how Bitcoin is steadily on the path to being adopted by more companies and countries, and lays out the reasons why Bitcoin is about to hit new all-time highs, far beyond the modest targets most people have in mind. But before we dive in, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, and I'd greatly appreciate your support to keep bringing you more quality content like this. With that said, let's get started with today's video.
There's so much buy demand. Every quarter, Tether is going to be buying Bitcoin. Every couple months, MicroStrategy is buying, Semler is buying, and we're going to see more and more of that. One of the largest pension funds in the world in Korea is allocating to MicroStrategy now. So you can see the tide already turning. But just like in The Big Short, the market takes time to realize what's happening. It's always going to be the people that are paying attention to Bitcoin that see all these factors and are allocating to it. This is why Michael Saylor is going to try to buy as much as he can right now. There is always more interest when the price is going up, but there's definitely a comparison. If you look at ordinary people, they want to buy Bitcoin when it's at all-time highs, right? And it's the same thing. Like, everyone buys Bitcoin everyone gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. But we do have a lot of interesting conversations going on. The challenge is for us working on nation-state adoption is that we have to work with the governments, and there's a lot of turnover, and there are a lot of challenges internally to work with these governments. Bitcoin is a very interesting asset because it is a bearer asset. You can hold it yourself. The supply schedule is fixed, right? Every 4 years there's a halving, and it's like every 10 minutes there's a block. There's not that much to worry about if you're a hodler, or what we call people that hold Bitcoin. So you can kind of put it into cold storage, turn your phone off or your computer off, and just go travel and read books for a year and come back, and you'll see what happens. Like, the price probably will go up. But it differs from things like fiat money, where you have to pay attention. You have to be watching the Federal Reserve. You have to dial into the FOMC meetings and hang on to every word being said. If you're holding equities, you have to pay attention too. So I think it's a very different thing. And as people understand this interesting property of Bitcoin, that you just buy and hold it for long periods of time, more people will start to understand that the short-term price volatility is really a distraction. You're not buying Bitcoin for the gains in the next year. You're buying Bitcoin for the gains in 10, 20 years, which is almost guaranteed. You're seeing more liquidity being injected into the system. MicroStrategy usually pre-announces their contribution to Bitcoin demand. I think that is a large spike in demand that we should be watching out for. It seems to be that they put very little weight into these obvious spikes in demand that are pre-announced well in advance. But speculation on potential selling, and even a little bit of selling, like from Mt. Gox, can cause the market to be very jittery. But they just completely disregard this beacon of demand that is broadcasted out there from companies like MicroStrategy. If Bitcoin is valuable, countries will inevitably want it, just like they want gold and other things. So sooner or later, countries will want Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoin has been designed in such a way that large holders like countries or institutions having Bitcoin does not impact the network itself, because while Bitcoin is in the financial system now, because it is connected through the ETFs, it is still separate from the financial system. So the financial system can drive Bitcoin price short term based on the equities markets or whatnot, but it is totally separate. And like I said before, you can just have your Bitcoin in cold storage, and then at that point you're totally disconnected from everything. They can do everything they want on this side, issue paper Bitcoin. Hedge funds can short it on derivatives exchanges and whatnot, but you still have your Bitcoin, and it's always in your possession in cold storage. You need to trust Bitcoin. And I hear this from time to time, like, I don't really know about Bitcoin. I don't really trust it. But the whole point of Bitcoin is that you don't need to trust Bitcoin. You can verify the code and you can check the math. So you can audit supply instantly. The other one is that people don't understand how scarce Bitcoin is. So who's holding a lot of Bitcoin? MicroStrategy. The ETFs in the US have about 900,000. And then you have all the other various holders, like Bitfinex has a large chunk. There's the BitMEX insurance fund, and Binance has a good chunk too. But there is not a lot of room to increase holdings at this point. So if you ask yourself, can the US ETFs increase from 900,000 to 2 million Bitcoin, like 10% of the supply? That is going to be exponentially harder than what they've accomplished now in terms of accumulation, because there's not a lot of Bitcoin left. If you look at the ETF holdings of different regions, the US with 900,000, Hong Kong, which came after the US, they have, I think, 4,500-ish now. So both of those regions waited until the US went okay and said go for the ETFs, and then they launched theirs. But launching second and third does no service to you because they've already got the lion's share. And I think it's going to be the same for nation state level accumulation because there's just not a lot left. So
as we move into November, it's clear that this month will be shaped by pivotal events, especially the US presidential election. The outcome could mark a turning point for markets and, of course, for Bitcoin. For cryptocurrency investors, there's strong anticipation for a Trump victory, as this is generally seen as favorable for the industry and the broader markets. However, no matter who wins, fiat currency remains on an inevitable path of devaluation. Central banks around the world continue to print money at an unprecedented pace, leading to inflation and eroding the value of traditional currencies. This constant loss of value in fiat is exactly why Bitcoin was created, to provide a store of value that isn't at the mercy of central banks. Samson Mow argues that this relentless printing of fiat will drive more companies and even nations to add Bitcoin to their balance sheets. Bitcoin's fixed supply and deflationary nature make it an increasingly appealing asset in a world where fiat currencies lose purchasing power year after year. This is setting off a major race to accumulate Bitcoin, with countries and corporations now recognizing its long-term value and the advantage of holding it. And in this race, institutional giants are already making their move. BlackRock, in particular, is taking the lead. Recently, it was reported that Bitcoin ETFs collectively hold over 1 million BTC. BlackRock itself has broken records in inflows, a sign of immense interest from institutional investors. This accumulation by Bitcoin ETFs is significant. It highlights the growing demand from the world's largest financial players, who see Bitcoin as a valuable hedge and a strategic asset to protect against inflation and economic instability. With BlackRock's involvement, we're seeing a new era of adoption where institutions are setting the pace, capturing Bitcoin's value and amplifying its status as digital gold. If you enjoyed this content, please take a moment to like this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates like this one. Your support means a lot and helps us bring you the latest insights from the world of Bitcoin and beyond. This was Wealth Wizards, wishing you an excellent day. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.